Welcome to the Other 90 by FUTXPERFORM, the show that explores everything that happens in football beyond the 90 minutes on the pitch. Today, we're joined by Kaz. Kaz, originally from the Netherlands, currently in Sweden. We're going to be chatting with him about all the highs, the lows, and everything in between of his footballing career so far. Kaz, a big thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me, Jaden.
Absolutely, man. Kaz, you're a player of FUTXPERFORM, so I am quite familiar with you and sort of your upbringing, but for all the viewers, I'm sure this will be something new. And so I'm really looking forward to dive deeper into sort of, your upbringing and sort of footballing, what that sort of looked like. Kaz, let's get started, man. Talk to me a little bit about sort of your upbringing into football and sort of, your time through youth football.
Yeah, right. I started playing football at 7 years old. Started as a centre back originally. I made a nasty challenge on attacker once because I didn't trust our goalkeeper. And the referee didn't allow me back in the field since then. So he put me in goal second half because that's something he arranged with our coach back then. So that's when my goalkeeping career started. And from there on out, I've played youth levels in the Netherlands, amateur-wise. At 17, I got scouted by Feyenoord and did a year in the academy there. From there, due to injury, I came short and they put me through a semi-pro team. So did a year there, had a rough patch with the coach because he was not a people person, let's keep it at that, and made me lose interest in football a bit. So I went back to amateur level. And from there on out, got the enjoyment back in football. And that's when I also realized football is my only passion and this is something I really want to pursue. And that's where I really kicked off my my football career, so to say.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so you ended up making the jump over to college. How old were you and what sort of, was the motivation to make that jump?
So at 23, I made the jump to college soccer in America to get a degree in psychology. And with that, pursue football at a high level, still competitive. Because at 23, the options in the Netherlands are pretty slim. Like there's not really any pathways there if you're not like brought up in an academy, like the whole path of your career basically. So from 23, I went to Indian Hills Community College in America, junior college, and did a year there, 2 years there. We won the regional twice and we won the district championship once. So it was a very good experience for me. Had a lot of playing time in my first year straight away. Second year, I got injured after 3 games as the number one. So unfortunately, I didn't have too much footage to transfer my third year because junior college is 2 years only. That's when you get an associate degree. And from there on, you can get your bachelor's with another 2 years. So after Indian Hills, I went to Anaya, basically for playing time for myself as well, because I arranged with the coach, okay, I'm going to be the number one coming in. They really needed the number one to show up there, and that's what I did. I played every game there since I got there. Got a lot of footage out of there, and that was also a goal for America. Just get a lot of footage, get a degree, and then try and make a move afterwards. So from Bethel College, which was my NAIA, was an absolute shit team. I'm not gonna lie. The first year was good. It was still competitive, the team. But after that, the good players left. I remained, and I was there stuck with a bunch of American players. No disrespect to the American players among you guys, but the quality level between Europeans, South Americans, and the Americans was very noticeable. So it was a very rough time. Like I got a lot of shots, so that's good for me. That's also why I stayed or why I chose to go to the school in the first place. So from after like 1.5 years in America at Bethel College. So in total, I did 3.5 years in America. I got my degree fast tracked. And after that, I was reaching out to a lot of agencies to see, okay, what's the best fit for me? What do I feel comfortable with going forward in my career in football?
Kaz, beautiful man. I appreciate you going through that all. I've got an interesting one for you, Kaz. Talk to me. Coming through the Netherlands, it's, historically a big footballing country. I recall watching them in some big World Cup matches. What's it like, youth football and playing football growing up in the Netherlands?
It's a pretty high level, I'd say. If you compare it to America or even Sweden, the level of football is really high, even at amateur levels. I'd say a lot of people I played with on amateur levels can compete at the level I'm at now as well. So there's a lot of competition. if you want to work up the leagues. It's very saturated as well because there's a lot of people trying and it's a lot about connections. So if you don't have the connections, it's very hard to be seen as well. So either you're into an academy from a young age, or it's going to be a very rough patch for you to work your ways up in the leagues there.
Yeah. And in terms of the footballing culture, what do you think makes Dutch players so strong, when you compare it to maybe some other countries? What do they do differently?
I think a lot of the coaches in the Netherlands take their inspiration from Johan Cruyff and like the footballing system he developed at Barcelona, the tiki-taka playing system. So all teams basically play 4-4-3. And with that, there comes a lot of rotations in between positions. So you're naturally comfortable playing different positions as an outfield player. Like a midfielder is able to shift to the wing, or as in a right back and fill in. So you become very versatile as a player because you need to like cover for your teammates. That's a no-brainer there. And I think it really contributes to the level that's here in the Netherlands.
Yeah. Absolutely. And in terms of the fan base, in terms of, how much people live and breathe football there, is that something that you feel like you found in other countries, or is it something that still surprises you?
I've not found a country yet that compares. In America, football is really that. Um, in the Netherlands, it lives so much. If you win a championship with a team, or even if your club wins it, it's just streets filled with people. And that's only maybe with the Super Bowl in America comparable. But other than that, like the World Cup and everything, it lives so much. Like supermarket, every supermarket has like some action to support the national team or some goodies or whatever. And yeah, the whole country just gets united behind their country, basically. It's probably in a lot of countries as well, but compared to America, was a world of the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see that sort of culture has a big influence on the quality of players produced, right? And so, Kaz, you go through that system and you develop, you play, and then you get to that point where you decide that you're going to make that jump to college. I guess my question to you, Kaz, is how does that sort of idea come across? And was that a difficult decision? Were there other things to consider, or how did you sort of go about that process?
Yeah, it was a difficult decision. I spent maybe 2, 3 years figuring out what I wanted to do in life, basically. I started like multiple bachelor educations in the Netherlands. Want to be like elementary school teacher up into like another degree within sports. Um, yeah, none of it really sparked my interest, or like you're just going through the motions, and that's not how I want to live my life. So I just decided, okay, what is it I want to do in life? I just sat down with myself and think, okay, what is my passion? And it kept coming back through football. And I decided, okay, if I don't pursue football with 100%, at least once in my life, I'm gonna have to look at myself in the mirror and deal with that at a later age. So I rather try and give it my all. And if it then doesn't work out, I still can look at myself in the mirror and say I gave everything I've got for it. Compared to when I don't, and I maybe regret it for the rest of my life and become like a pessimistic old man, and that's not something you want in life, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you sort of make that decision and you go, I guess, Kaz, when you make such a decision, is there any sort of sacrifices you feel like you made, or is there anything that, was hard to sort of leave in the Netherlands?
Yeah, of course, it comes with a lot of sacrifices. You have to believe behind your family, your friends. Maybe if you're in a relationship, you sacrifice that as well. It's whatever you want to invest into it, or like what's it worth to you to pursue your passion. So for me, it was worth the sacrifice 100%, because it also comes with a lot of new experiences, new connections you make in life. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I've got connections now all over the world, from Fiji to Italy, Spain, Colombia. You can name a country and I probably know someone there. So it's been a great experience going through college in America and like developing there, and as a person as well, because you learn to be away from home. You learn to create more of a sense of self, because um, you're there on your own in some way. So you deal a lot with yourself and how you deal with certain situations and people. So yeah, it was great all round, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. And so you make the move into college and you're playing and you had 3.5 years there, Kaz. Talk to me in terms of the footballing side of college. Obviously, there's a lot of elements to college, but if we sort of narrow in on the footballing side, what sort
Mhm.
of surprised you in a good way? And then what do you think was sort of still lacking when you compare it to sort of, European environments?
Yeah, so what my surprise was is the amount of international students that go through America. My first college was very competitive. And there was only one American student in my team. We had like a roster of like 25, and there was just one American. The rest was just international students. So that was a big surprise for me because I was like thinking, okay, I'm gonna be with like Americans here in America, but there was not one American like starting in the team. So that was a big surprise. The level was also surprising because you don't think college soccer is as competitive, but I'd say my first team will beat the team I'm at now. Like that competitive it was. Like the second team in Naya, it was still a competitive level at the teams you play, but there's just a big difference in the quality of teams. But if you want to develop as a player, it's still attractive because you get to play good teams, and there's still a lot of international players there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of, I guess, some of the downfalls of college or things that maybe you sort of wish they still had, what would you sort of say, Kaz?
What I wish they've had, it's a good question. Maybe better pathways if you want to pursue professional careers, because I don't know if a lot of clubs would rate the experience with a college compared to solely club experience, because it's probably more attractive for clubs if you have like first team experience at a young age compared to you go through the motions in college and have a college soccer experience, so to say. So that's maybe the biggest downside because you don't know how other clubs would rate that experience compared to first team football.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Kaz, talk to me a little bit about, obviously it comes into the point where, we end up speaking and we end up helping you get that move. But from your experience, man, what was, did you feel like when you were speaking to clubs that they looked a lot into your college history? Was it something where you sort of think they almost ignored it? Where do you think sort of clubs took that?
I think they mainly looked at the footage, honestly. So I think they just went on to see, okay, what can this player bring to the squad? So I'm not so keen on that they really thought about anything about the college experience. Maybe they see it as an experience abroad, so that can be something positive in a way, but I don't think they clocked it as something negative.
Yeah. Now, Kaz, you touched a little bit previously about hoping to improve the pathway to pro when you finish sort of college football and you're stepping into that environment. Talk to me a little bit through that. From your understanding, what sort of the pathway that they have at the moment and what sort of the biggest struggles that the players tend to have?
So if you're in America and you go through the college system, the pathway is either MLS Next Pro, which is very hard to get into, and they mostly go for like young players, or you have to go through UPSL to UPSL and work your way up there, which is also, I would say, not ideal because there's a very high cost of living in America, and that's still considered some of them as semi-pro, and there's not a lot of funding for those places. So I'd say it's a very rough pathway going from college soccer and yeah, climbing the ladders in America. Um, that's also why I reached out to multiple agencies to find myself a pathway. Talked to a lot of guys before, and this also got me in conversation with you. Um, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so I guess that sort of takes us into what I was going to ask you next, Kaz. And so you get to the end of college, right? You finish up, you're in your mid-20s, you're in a position where most people would take the degree and they would sort of just go into the office job and they would sort of just do what the degree says to do, right? You put yourself in a position where you go, you know what, I'm still chasing this, and you've got the degree on the side. What made you go all in once you finished college on your footballing?
I'd say my passion for football. It's my biggest passion. And yeah, like I said, I don't want to look myself in the mirror like 20 years from now and think, oh, I didn't give it everything I had, and then contemplate the what ifs or like different scenarios. So for me, it's just a matter of, yeah, trying, like at least giving it my all. and try it at least, so I can tell myself I gave everything I had for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kaz, you probably, I guess, in college terms, one of the later ages to graduate, right? How old were you when you graduated college?
Yeah, I was 27 when I graduated college. They were calling me Unc and everything.
Oh,
So yeah, it was good fun. Like I made a lot of good connections still. But yeah, I was like one of the older guys. But that also comes with a lot of leadership then. So it was still a great experience.
yeah, of course, man. And I guess when you sort of decide that you're going to make that jump after college, and you finish up in a stage where you're probably older than what the average graduate is, did you ever have a moment, Kaz, where you sort of felt like you'd left it too late?
Yeah, that was at my second college in America, because at some point in the second year, the assistant coach became the head coach, and I was older than my head coach then, because he was 24, I was 27. So that was quite the experience. So yeah, people were just like making fun and this and that, like, oh, you're older than coach, like, what are you doing here, Unc? And yeah, I was just laughing it off, saying, ah, at least I'm not 26 in an office job hating my life. So yeah.
Absolutely, man. No, beautiful. And so let's talk about, Kaz. You do that, you go through the process. We then ready for that next jump, right? What's actually involved in making that next jump, Kaz? I know that you came across FUTXPERFORM, and we'll get onto that, but what was your sort of thought process of once you finished college, what you needed to do?
So before my college career ended, I graduated in spring. So the winter prior to that, I was exploring my options, contacting agencies and researching, okay, is it smart to contact clubs myself? But there's a very small percentage of response there only. So that was an option that was crossed off straight away. So an agency was the only realistic option basically to get and move on. So I just scheduled a lot of calls with a lot of different agencies to explore my options and went with the program that felt best there.
Yeah, beautiful, man. And I think for any younger players out there watching this as well, is one of the biggest things we always say is to always know what's out there. Don't jump at the first thing that comes up, whether it's FUTXPERFORM or it's somewhere else. You need to know what's actually going to be best for you, right? And so, Kaz, we end up jumping on a call, and I still remember the call like yesterday and how that sort of went. And I know that we had sort of conversations. Kaz, after you joined us, you had some conversations with other agencies, as you mentioned, and you told me that front on. How quickly was it from when you sort of joined us to when when you were on a plane?
Yeah, fast, very fast. Within 1.5 weeks, you guys got me a direct contract signing. So that was great. I was expecting trials, like all the other agencies also like vouch for that, like trials this, trials that. But FUTXPERFORM came on with a direct signing in Sweden. So that was amazing. Like I didn't expect any of that, but 1.5 week I was signed and getting ready to fly to Sweden.
Yeah, it's crazy how life can move so quickly with people, isn't it? Beautiful, man. And so I guess I want now, Kaz, a little bit more insight into behind the decision, right? So you talk to numerous agencies, you want to know what's out there, and you end up going with FUTXPERFORM. What is it when you're a player looking and you sort of come to the realization that I'm going to need help? What is it that you're looking for? And what is it that is, let's say, a green flag? What's sort of a red flag and that you'd stay away from?
Yeah, I'd say a lot of it is gut feeling as well. So when you talk to different guys, there's a certain going about them. There's a certain vibe they give off as well. Some really put themselves very high and look down on you, I'd say. As if you talk to agencies, they think, oh, you're just a player, just a number. So for me, what got me going with FedEx was really the connection as well. Like you really try to look at people eye level and like try to see them as the player they are and try to help them the best you can in their situation. Um, you didn't make any weird promises as, oh yeah, we're gonna get you this high or that high. Like you were straight on, okay, we think you can play on this level, and we're gonna get you something where you can grow as a player, as a person. And yeah, that was something that was more direct than most agencies, I'd say, more transparent, I'd say. And yeah, that was for me, that also caused to have a good feeling and yeah, made it easier to make the decision to go with FedEx. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I mean, we've worked for a little while and we've had a number of conversations now, right? And so even in making moves and doing those sort of things, what does it look like for you when you're in situations, even for example, when you're in Sweden and you want to have a chat? Because one of the things that we're very big on at FUTX Perform is at the end of the day, we're players ourselves. And so it's not difficult for us to put ourselves in your shoes, for example, because we've all been there and some of us are even there at the moment, right? What has that sort of process looked like for you? You know, maybe when you just need to pick up the phone or you need a bit of support.
Yeah, honestly, I was very surprised because like the contract says it's like 3 months that you look for clubs and have to resign. That's your responsibilities done and fulfilled. But even after I was signed, you guys catch up with me. You send out a text from, hey, how's it going? What's a little update in your situation? How do you feel? And this and that. So that was very surprising to me to have that personal touch even after you did your responsibilities, because there's no need to do any of that, like on paper, at least. So that really showed your involvement with the player as well, and not just seeing him as a number, but really being interested in the person and how he's doing. So it really made it feel like you want them to be satisfied with the product as well, and not just want them like a McDonald's in and out. So that really made me feel good about FUTX, and also wanting to work with them more in the future and just proceed with them.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I guess, Kaz, when you go from being sat in America and then within 1.5 weeks you're on a plane to Sweden, it sort of shows how quickly things can move. But something that you said a little bit earlier really caught my eye, and you said you're in a point where you're sort of working out what to do, and you had gone that direct route of trying to contact coaches and do that sort of side of things yourself. Talk to me a little bit through that process, Kaz. What's it like, first of all, and then what's the success rates like on it?
You're just sending out emails in the nothingness, basically, because you send your highlights, your CV, and you can even chat on ChatGPT, like, oh, give me all the email addresses from this league and the person to address, and you start doing that, and before you know it, you spend like most of your day emailing coaches and checking your email again for, oh, did I get a response or anything? But there's nothing, like you don't get one reply. If you get a reply, it's like, okay, yes, we'll send it to the athletic director. That's maybe one in like 30 emails I've sent. And then even after that, there's not a reply even. So it shows like if you don't have an opening at a club, it's going to be a really long time before you even get something valuable out of it. So you're just
Yeah.
wasting your time. Or at least that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, no, of course, man. And I think a lot of people sort of watching would relate to that heavily. I guess what was sort of the point where obviously in that you sort of realize that you're going to need a little bit of help, but did you sort of underestimate the importance of connections, or has that always been something that you've sort of realized is really important in football?
I mean, you kind of realize it from a young age, especially in the Netherlands, that you need to have connections if you want to move up. So of course there's that thought you need to have connections, but you want to be optimistic about it. And for a lot of people, it's like a real step to take the step and commit, like to spend actual money on something like that. Because you think, oh, I can send emails, I can make a call. But yeah, if you don't have credibility built up, then they're still gonna answer the phone like, okay, who are you? And yeah, that's something that will waste your time, will waste their time, and they probably won't pick up the phone for just anyone either. So yeah, that's what's really made it more sensible to go with an agency, as they already have a foot in the door, and at least the club knows, okay, they can bring good players, or like at least the quality and the hats on the player is good, so there be a team player or whatever.
Yeah. Absolutely, Kaz. And I think that just goes to show like it's probably an environment in football where it's getting more and more important, the connection side of things. And it was a really good thing that we could make that happen for you. And I guess going to sort of the current day, right? And when you sort of make that move, I guess, Kaz, for me, I think something that you probably acclimatize yourself to when you're a little bit younger, because you had already made that move. But we might have some people watching who haven't made that move or are still in college or whatever it may be. What was it like making the move to Sweden? What was the process? Were there any sort of expectations, and did they live up to them? Were you sort of surprised? Talk me through that process.
Yeah, it was surprisingly similar, I'd say, the lifestyle. Because again, you come in an environment with a lot of international players. We only have a handful of Swedish players. Like most of the guys here are international. So I didn't expect it to start with. Of course, there's some internationals, but I still would assume it was predominantly Swedish. But there again, you see how big football is, even in Sweden. So yeah, even with the housing situation, you have your own apartment. At least I got it. And there's some guys living together, which really reminds me of like the college dorms and that type of stuff. So it's a very similar vibe. It's a good camaraderie what you develop with your team that way as well. So there were no real surprises other than that. It's just a bit more professional, I'd say, a bit more competitive because now you're actually playing for playing and not just for a college degree. So there's a lot more at stake. So um, yeah, that's something good as well because that pushes you as well to really lock in and look out for yourself and continue on your path.
Yeah, and I guess
Yeah.
that's a really good observation. I think that's sort of as a senior player going into a squad like that, what's the biggest difference? Obviously, making that comparison to the college system, right? But you're in an environment where now you're playing week in, week out, results matter, and it's not just results to make a school look good, but it's contract wise and players have their own things that they're playing for. What's it like going into an environment like that?
I'd say it's a lot more mental than college because in college if you have bad results yeah, it doesn't really matter for some people because some people are just there for the college degree in the end. But once the shit goes down in an actual club where you're trying to play to win and trying to play for titles and everything, there's a lot more egos involved as well to start with because there's a lot of people with backgrounds in academies or whatever, and that's also something to deal with and keep in mind. But the competitiveness and the winner mentality, that's something every footballer should have, I'd say. And those things can clash, when it's not going well with the team or um, frustrations rise, then that's something different compared to college soccer. Because in college soccer, it's just okay. We had a shit result, on to the next one, and there'll be like a handful of players being frustrated. But here, like you realize everyone get down on it. Everyone wants to win. So I'd say that's a big difference as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you had to sort of tell me here, what do you sort of think was the biggest adjustment in terms of making that move? Was it, the footballing itself? Was it the lifestyle? Was it being away? What sort of did you have to really go, shit, I need to get going here?
Compared to college, everything like the meals and everything is cooked for you. Everything is you get it on a silver platter basically, or like your dirty tray, and you go through the motions there. And here you really have to take up for yourself. You have to do your own groceries, get your food, cook, which is very fun. You learn like a lot of new dishes. You can cook more healthier, especially compared to America. That's a world difference in like the healthy food wise you consume. So I'd say you get a lot more of your own rhythm because you have a lot more free time compared to college. So you can look look better after your body, do more stretching, do more recovery. Because in the end of the day, you don't have as much to do. Like sometimes you're not in a busy, vibrant city and you're just there with your teammates. So you get a good bond with them to start with. But it also forces you to really lock in, because there's no distractions, there's no plan B because you're committed at that point. And yeah, it's just to show that you burn the bridges to be there and take care of yourself.
Yeah, of course, man. And if you could tell yourself one thing before you sort of made the move over, what would that be in hindsight?
In hindsight, um, that's a good question. I'd say do more research on the place you're going to. Like know what you're getting yourself into. Then decide for yourself, okay, is this some place I want to be? Is it something that will help me? For me, it worked out because obviously they made me captain after the first week. And it's been great developing as a person, as a leader as well. So, and that's also why I made the jump because it was a good step. It was a fully new team and new experience. So it's just like a calculation you make in your head. But I'd say you can never do too much research on where you're going. Because for me, it was like I like a bit of vibrance around me, a bit of activity to do. And here I should have researched a bit more because it's in the middle of nowhere, Sweden. It was very cold in the start, like snow up till your knees. Like the first week, we put the goals on the field and we were doing like a sort of handball in the snow with our knees deep in the snow, just running around in the snow. And playing handball, you know. So yeah.
Beautiful, man. Completely different, huh? It's the beauty of football, what you like to say.
Hmm.
Beautiful, man. And so, Kaz, we'll sort of leave the college and the Swedish route at the moment. I guess what I sort of want to do is I want to take a little bit of a deep dive, Kaz, into sort of behind the scenes, not just the moves and how football can look on the outside, but with sort of how you've sort of gone and even, you know, recent occurrences as well. There's highs in football and there's also lows in football. And I guess for our audience here and potentially for some of those young players who maybe haven't experienced those low sides of football, I guess that's where I really want to dive into, Kaz. Okay. So I know that when in the intro, you were talking about sort of coming through the ranks in the Netherlands and you got to a point where you felt like you had fallen out of love with the game and typically over a coach, right? Talk me through what that process is like and how do you regain the love and the confidence for football again?
Yeah. So I was at a very competitive side. And for me, it was hard to come to a new team at that age because I was still young. So it was a competitive side I got into young age. They were all already good friends. They went through the ranks, climbing it together, you know, as a unit. And then I come in and I'm expected to take over for their goalkeeper. So there's like a clash as well with that because they backed their goalkeeper as well in a sense. But there was this one game, like I was doing good, like for most of my time there. But there was this one game, we were playing in the stadium of Excelsior, and we were playing Excelsior like a professional side, and we were doing like halves each. So this was my first time in a stadium, mind you. So this was you feel a lot more pressure. It's something a lot of people underestimate, but once you're in a stadium, it's a whole different world because the pressure is mentally, of course, but it's still very much noticeable. So that was something I did not know about. I didn't prepare myself enough for that at that moment as well. So I would say I caved under pressure. I'm not gonna lie there. So I had like two mistakes that fucked me. And then after that, the coach just made fun of me in the locker room and he started like making fun of my mistakes. And like that's something no young player, especially a goalkeeper, wants to go through
Yeah,
because yeah, that
absolutely.
really breaks down your confidence.
Yeah, of course, man. And so that's a really difficult period. I think as a goalkeeper as well, for our goalkeepers listening, Kaz, you know, I've always grown up and I've always heard the quote that to be a goalkeeper, you have to be a little bit crazy. But I think as you sort of grow up and you sort of understand it, it is a very demanding position, not only physically, but, you know, a position where you're just with yourself. There's no one else that can sort of carry that load for you. And so when you go through experiences like that, what's your instincts and how do you sort of pull yourself out of it?
Yeah, for me, it was just resetting myself, finding the joy again in football. So I decided to step back and take a step down to playing with my friends again. So I had a friend in college who played at a lower level in the Netherlands, and I decided to join his side. So I joined their first team straight away. Yeah, I got the enjoyment of football back again. The only obstacle there is if you play at lower levels, they care more about the third half than the first seconds, you know. So you have to really separate yourself. You still feel like you're not really belonging to the team because they care about the drinking after, and you're there to develop still as a player, or you don't. You want to focus on getting better still. So that's a thing you have to weigh in with such a step as well. Yeah, but for me, it did me really well because the team was shit and I got a lot to do. So I built my confidence, getting all the praise because I was saving everything. They were like in the bottom table when like the season before, and I got in and we became seconds, even playing for promotion. So that was very nice. So I'd say to build your confidence as a young player, you just need positive environments and positive experiences to experience. That will just really build your confidence, get your trust in yourself and trust from others. And those things all contribute to you developing as a player, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that sort of made me laugh in there, Kaz, is you referred to the third half. And I think
Yeah.
for players who it sort of may have flown over their heads, there's a lot to football outside of football. And I think, you know, you would have experienced it there in the Netherlands, but also college is very heavily renowned for a lot of things that happen outside of that. I guess as a footballer, Kaz, how do you sort of stay focused? How do you sort of keep your eye on the prize with everything else going on outside of it?
Yeah. Yeah. You really have to make sacrifices again. Like that's where sacrifices comes down to it as well. Because you need to you need to know for yourself why you're there, and you don't have to lie to yourself. Oh, it's just this one drink, or it's just one night, because those will accumulate. Because one night turns into 2 nights, and then it turns into weekly. I've seen it with a lot of players that come in and they're there to go to the next level, but then they end up drinking every weekend, and that's not something that will help you in the long run, even in short term. So it's what you are willing to put into it. I mean, if you want to just enjoy your life, okay, sure, then that's great for you. But if you're there to develop and actually pursue something for yourself, then sacrifices will have to be made. And yeah, that's the life of it we chose.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
is. And I think that's sort of an element that you only reap the rewards of, staying dedicated years after you actually do. And I think that's probably the hardest thing that players struggle with, right? On another note, Kaz, as football, there's life, and with life, there's a lot of ups and downs. You've obviously had, your fair share of those ups and downs. Talk me through, Kaz. You obviously had an experience throughout college, which would have had a big effect on you. Talk me through the process of what actually happened and how that sort of correlates when you go back to college and you try and still play football.
Yeah. So in my second year of college, I got a call from my brother saying my dad passed away. So that was like probably the lowest moment in my college career, maybe even my life. So yeah, that's just you have to switch gears then at that point. Then football is not the most important thing anymore. So within like 2 days, I was on the plane back to the Netherlands to go through all the motions there. Yeah, that really puts your feet back down to the ground, to the real world as well. But it also makes you appreciate football even more because, like, once you deal with everything and the mandatory stuff and everything, you get to come back to the football environment. And that's also where you reset mentally. Like, once you step on the field, you can leave all the problems behind. And at the end, he's still watching me from above. So it's a little guardian angel I picked up on the way, and he will help me. I hope to get a good move from here on as well. So um, yeah, it just shows that football's not everything, but it does make you cope with life as well in a way. So maybe young players also go through the same things or other types of trauma or whatever. But once you step on the field, it's just like a bliss because once you get in that zone, you can just forget about everything else and just do your thing.
Absolutely. The power of football, it has a very strange hold over people, but it's a very powerful one. That is for sure. And as with that, I guess I sort of want to ask you the next question of, you sort of realize a lot happens off the field and it does shape the person you become and even the footballer you become. Kaz, if I was to ask you, what was sort of, let's take it back to 17 or 18-year-old version of Kaz. What was the version of making it in football for him then? And what does making it in football look like for you now?
I think 18 or 17-year-old Kaz was not really sure what to do with life at that point. Like he didn't really had his priorities straight as I have now. And he was not really focused on the future as much, maybe. Like he was thinking with a fixed mindset, okay, I have to go through college and that's how people are conditioned. Like, okay, you need to get a degree to get a job and this and that. But that's just if you want to compete in the rat race in the end. So for me, if I can go back in time and talk to 17 or 18-year-old Cast, then I would tell him like, um, take a step back and look at life. What do you enjoy the most? And pursue that. Because if I was 17 and pursued football from that moment, like straight on, heads on, it would have probably be a different situation. I wouldn't be in Sweden right now, but maybe in Marbella, Spain or something. I don't know. But it gives you a lot more, what's it called? A lot more time to develop in a more professional environment. Because in the end, I wasted a couple of years at the amateur level because I didn't know where to go or what to do. And the decision came only, I'd say, 5 to 6 years later. And that's something a lot of young players need to realize as well. You don't have infinite amounts of time. It does matter when you really start to pursue your professional career. So make the decision. If you really know your passion is football, don't keep contemplating about it. Like a part of me knew my passion was football, but maybe it's the risk or you being told by your peers and everything, oh, it's not realistic to pursue football. Maybe you're at a lower level and you don't really think it's possible, but there's always options. There's always a way, there's always a path. And if not, you create your own. So if you really want it bad enough, it's something you should pursue, even from a younger age. It will help you a lot more to develop as a player as well as a person.
Yeah, absolutely, Kaz. And I guess if we were to sort of give one sort of advice to, any of those younger players out there, or maybe they are in college at the moment and they're looking at, professional football and what that could look like, what's one honest thing that you would tell them?
Yeah, I tell them to pursue your passion. Like, if you know football is your passion, then don't waste your time and go for it, Like, be real with yourself. If this is something you have only the slightest idea that you think you can manage to do, and you have a little faith in yourself, then go for it. Weigh down your options. Is there something else you'd like more in life? Okay, good, then pursue that. But if you cannot find anything you like more in life than football, then why not give it your all? Why not try? Like, I see a lot of big talents in the Netherlands as well go to waste because they're being led on by the rat race and they pursue a career. Well, you see the enjoyment they have on the pitch and the quality they have. And a lot of talent goes to waste by not trying.
Kaz, that's an absolutely great piece of advice for any of those younger listeners out there. Get a notebook out, write that one down, because honestly, that is something you need to hear today. On the back of that, Kaz, I guess we give you advice to younger players. We tell them how to sort of prepare. Do you think professional football is for every player?
I would say no, because a big part of professional football is the mental state of things. A lot of people I've seen as well here, they're not ready mentally and they get too much into their own head, and overthinking can really break yourself down, If you get any type of negativity in your head, then you can mess up your own performance or talk yourself down. And I think a lot of people underestimate how mental football really is, not only goalkeeping, but every position. So I'd say even if you have quality and mentally you're weak, I don't think you'll make it in football because that's the biggest aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kaz, we do have a qualified psychologist here, right? So I
Yes,
guess
sir.
if I was to say the mental side of things, it's obviously a big battle for young players. What's one piece of advice mentally that you could give, or something that young players could incorporate into their routine that can change the game for them?
Yeah, not only football-wise, but also in life, I would say focus on the things inside of your control. A lot of people get stuck in focusing on all the things outside of their control, whatever people might say, or something that happens on the field. Once it happens, it's happened. It's like my old coach used to say, it's like a dart arrow. Everyone is different. Every action is different. So don't focus on the one that's besides the boards. The next one can go into the bullseye or the triple 20. And yeah, it's about letting that go and realizing, okay, um, it's what in front of me that's important, not what happened in the game or how shit my practice was. So focus on what you can control, and what you can control is your own thoughts and how you think of the situation and what you put into practice.
Control the controllables. It's cliche, but it really works. Kaz, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here on FUTXPERFORM. Obviously, as a player as well, there's plenty of big things ahead. We've got exciting windows up ahead as well. From all of us, man, thank you so much for taking the time. And we're really looking forward to what these next months are going to hold for you, mate.
Likewise. Thanks for having me, Jaden.
Thank you, mate. All right.